Hello? Welcome back! In this video, we'll explore one of the most famous studies in psychology, Stanley Milgram's study on obedience. We'll go over the aim, method, results, and ethical issues, all of which will help you answer Cambridge exam questions on the topic. Milgram's study on obedience was conducted in the early 1960s, following the aftermath of World War II and the Holocaust. During this time, psychologists were grappling with understanding how ordinary individuals could carry out horrific acts, such as the genocide of millions of people under the influence of authority figures. One common explanation for this behavior was the Germans are different hypothesis, which suggested that German citizens were somehow more predisposed to obey authority figures in a way that others were not. This theory emerged after the Nuremberg trials, where many Nazi officers claimed they were just following orders when carrying out atrocities. It implied that Germans as a people might be uniquely inclined to obey destructive authority figures. Milgram was deeply interested in this question. He wanted to understand whether this obedience to authority was a characteristic unique to a specific group of people, like Germans, or whether it was a more universal human trait. Could ordinary people, regardless of their nationality, be made to obey orders that would result in harm to others? This question was especially relevant in the wake of the Holocaust, where millions of Jews and other minority groups were systematically murdered under Adolf Hitler's regime. Many of the soldiers, officers, and civilians involved in these atrocities justified their actions by saying they were simply following orders. This sparked an important question in psychology. How could ordinary individuals who may have had no personal animosity toward the victims carry out such horrific acts? Milgram's study aimed to test this question by simulating a situation where participants, under the orders of an authority figure, were asked to administer what they believed were electric shocks to another person, even when those shocks could cause extreme pain. This is called destructive obedience. Research method. Milgram used a controlled observation. This means he observed participants in a controlled environment where all variables were kept the same to accurately measure obedience. Milgram recruited 40 men, aged 20 to 50, using volunteer sampling. These men were living in the New Haven area and came from various backgrounds and occupations, including both white-collar and blue-collar workers. The participants were paid $4.50 for participating. The participants were introduced to a Confederate who pretended to be another participant. The real participant was assigned the role of teacher, and the Confederate was assigned the role of learner. The teacher was instructed to administer electric shocks to the learner for every incorrect answer they gave, with the voltage increasing from 15 volts to 450 volts. The experimenter, who was an authority figure in a lab coat, told the teacher to continue with the shocks even when the learner appeared to be in pain. If the teacher hesitated, the experimenter used verbal prods like "you must continue." Results? Findings: 65% of participants administered the highest shock, 450 volts, despite believing they were causing serious pain. Participants showed signs of stress such as sweating and shaking. Many participants protested but still followed orders due to the authority figure's pressure. Perception of pain. After the experiment, participants believed the learner had been severely hurt. They estimated the pain of the 450 volt shock at 13.42 out of 14. Discussion. Milgram's study shows that people are highly obedient to authority figures, even when it involves harming others. The results suggest that situational factors, like the presence of an authority figure and the setting of the experiment, played a huge role in encouraging obedience. Strengths. The study was reliable because it was highly standardized, with each participant undergoing the same procedure. It was a controlled observation, so Milgram could eliminate many external variables. Weaknesses. The study had major ethical concerns. Participants were deceived believing they were harming someone. They weren't fully informed about the risks, violating ethical guidelines. The sample was all male and came from the same area, so the study's findings might not be generalizable to other groups. Conclusion. Milgram's study provides important insights into how situational factors like authority figures can influence obedience. Even in extreme situations like those involving harm to others, most participants obeyed orders. Ethical issues. There were two main ethical issues in this study. Deception. Participants were misled about the true nature of the study. Lack of informed consent. Participants didn't know they would be causing harm, so they couldn't fully consent. In summary, Milgram's study shows how destructive obedience can occur when individuals obey authority figures. It highlights the power of authority and situational influences over personal conscience. Thank you for watching. This study shows how obedience to authority can lead people to act in ways that go against their personal morals. Understanding Milgram's study helps us understand how we might behave under similar pressures. See you next class. Goodbye.